It is just a huge honor for me today to be podcast interviewing Dr. Stephane Reinhardt, DMD. He's a general dentist who developed a special interest in orthodontics. Since 2004, he introduced Invisalign in his practice and became an elite provider. In 2015, he was the first Canadian dentist to win the Invisalign Summit Shootout held at the Invisalign Summit in Las Vegas. In 2016, he founded the C.L.E.A.R Institute to answer the increased demand of education by dentists in understanding and integrating clear aligner orthodontics in the dental practice. With the soon-to-be-launched C.L.E.A.R e-learning platform, Dr. Reinhardt maintains his vision to bring every dentist as comfortable talking and using clear aligners as they are with any other type of restoration. When he's not on the road or working, he enjoys good times with his 3 children and finds every excuse to play the guitar. He is the singer-songwriter of the Invisalign song, and oh my gosh, that's why I called you the Invisalign song. I bet I've had 5 different dentists send it to me. And can we insert that song on the deal?
With great pleasure. With great pleasure.
But I have to admit, I only clicked onto the Invisalign song sang by this dentist. I assumed it was this hot chick named Stephane Reinhardt, and it's this man named Stephane. That ruined the whole song. It's supposed to be sung by a hot Stephanie, not some man named Stephane.
I'm telling you, Howard, it's a story of my life. Stephanie, every time I go in the States, every time I go in, in Canada, English Canada, they always expect a Stephanie. And when I arrived, they're so disappointed.
Have you ever thought about just having a deep dark fake song on your YouTube song? So what made you? So obviously you're a musician to write that song. What made you write that song?
Well, the story is pretty funny because one of my friends is really a professional musician, and he has a studio at home and everything. And at one Halloween party, we just started playing with the guitar and singing, and I had an Invisalign song, a version that cannot be really. That's it. Can only be singing at parties. And he said, your song is really good. We should do something with that. And I went to his studio and we just started having fun with that. And that's it. So we have this Invisalign song that came out and was just a lot of fun. I always told myself one day in my life, I'm going to go in the studio, do a song, and that's it, was the Invisalign song.
The reason I really wanted to get you on the show is exactly what your mission is, that you want every dentist is comfortable talking about clear aligners as they are fillings, crowns, and root canals. I can't believe when I got out of school in '87, the new hot thing was the PFM, where they painted porcelain over the metal, and now that's extinct, and it's all aluminum oxide or whatever. I was just, when it was going from amalgam and gold to PFMs and composites. And when I was young, there are all these big families back before birth control. So usually it was just the only kid that got braces was the one that was so messed up they could never get married, they could never spread their gamete genes and move on. So you just fixed up the worst one. Now with birth control and family size going to 2 children or less, it's like not only is ortho just like a rite of entry to earth, but I'm seeing them having it in high school, maybe when they're 30s, and then when they get divorced and they're on the making themselves back up to go back on the market to play, they're doing it again at 50. I mean, I think ortho is just amazing. And when I look around the world, the Frenchman Pierre Fichard started this thing 2 centuries ago, and so most of dentistry, it's a 2-century-old technology, and it's very flat economically. It usually just grows with the country's economy, except for 2 areas: implants and clear aligners. Off the charts, and both for the same reason. I want to add, I think a lot of people miss this point. A lot of dentists always say, well, are you having any problems chewing, or if you go to a restaurant, is there something you can't eat with your missing tooth? Dude, he looks like he's 9 months pregnant. You don't need teeth to eat. You know why they get implants? For the same reason they get clear aligners, for the same reason a peacock spreads out all his pretty wings. It's all about the number one job of a species is to find another primate to mate with And that is what's driving this market. I mean, these people will go get the tooth replacement implant because they're afraid it'll show up on an Instagram post.
Exactly.
And, you know, so,
no, but this is exactly what I think. This is what I say all the time, is that I think it's the best time ever to be a dentist and to do these things and to integrate these things, because people, they're never been as conscious as they are now about their smile. And because of social media, everybody's doing selfies. They're all, everybody's like, and showing their smiles. I have patients today that are, for who I would never thought, that the smile would be important, but it became important. It's important for everyone now, because everyone's on the social media. Everyone is taking pictures of themselves, posting pictures, wanting likes, and like you said, wanting, to meet someone. So there has never been a better time to integrate these things in your practice. And it has never been as easy as it is now. And I'm not saying it's easy. Has never been as easy as it is, but still there's a learning curve. You have to learn, you have to take time. You have like in anything else. I mean, when you start doing implants, you have to take the time, you have to learn. And so, but it's if you're not integrating clear aligners in your practice, you're missing something. You're missing the boat. You're missing there's a parade out there. And you can lead it, you can follow it, you can just watch it go by.
Okay, so I want to first go back in history, because clear aligners is not new. It used to be called lingual orthodontics. If you didn't want your braces to see, they were on the inside. That never really took off or whatever, but there's always someone thinking it's the next big thing. So first, let's get rid of the history class. Do you think lingual will ever come back and replace clear aligner?
Lingual to replace clear aligner? I don't see it. I don't see it. I look in my crystal ball. I don't see that. But I know some dentists. I know some orthodontists that this is their thing. This is what they like. This is what they're comfortable with. And I know others who tried it and they walk like this now.
Yeah, placing them and all that stuff. So then the other thing is, I want to ask, and by the way, I'm really honored to have you come on the show. I mean, you're a real thought leader, legend on this topic. But are you agnostic or brand loyal? Because ever since those IPs all expired by the original filer of the patents, I'm counting about 40 different clear aligner companies. Are you too? And kind of like implants. I mean, you could buy a really expensive Noble Biocare, and the same company, Invisa, owns the value brand Neodent in Brazil. And I'm sitting here in Arizona thinking, well, should I be buying the real expensive one from Sweden, which makes no sense because that's where IKEA is from, right? Or should I buy the low-cost brand from Brazil? So are you agnostic, or do you really like one technology over the others?
I will tell you one thing, complete disclosure, because I think it's important to say the C.L.E.A.R Institute, as of today, is completely independent. When I talk, when I lecture everything, I always talk about Invisalign. The reasons, because this is what I've been using since 2004. This is what I know. But the important for me is not that people use Invisalign. It's the same thing as implant. You're not selling Invisalign to a patient. This is not, the Invisalign is the tool that you use. I'm comfortable with that because I know that. I know the software. I learn with that. I learn with the company. I have an attachment, we could say, to the company. But I believe that the important thing for me is that you understand what you're doing. And I think that when you understand diagnostics, you understand mechanics, you understand, those are the important thing. After that, when you understand these things, you can make your own idea about a product. If you don't understand these things, you're going to see some salesmen from companies telling you always the same thing. My product is better because of this. My product is better because of this. We don't need any attachments. That's one of the things I hear. Our product is better because we don't need any attachments. This makes no sense. This, if you understand mechanics, if you understand biomechanics, if you understand how orthodontic works, having no attachments makes no sense. So for me, the more important is to understand what you're doing, understand the principles of clear aligners. And I think the evolution, when I look at the money that is put in research and development on these things, this is, I mean, it's going to get more and more and more and more and more crazy. I was, when we closed the clinic here because of a pandemic for 3 months, we were completely locked down, seeing no patients, anything. I had still some patients in braces. I was not afraid for my patients who were in Invisalign, because we could just wear the aligners as retainers or whatever. But those who were in braces with mechanics, intrusion mechanics or things like that, I mean, it's not it was not the same. We could not handle it the same way. And when we came back, I was afraid that patient would not be, not be coming, or we wouldn't have any consultation. Well, it's the opposite. We're starting more cases now than we started before. I think people need something to smile now more than ever, and they want to please themselves, and having straight teeth, I think, is part of the equation. So this is how I see clear aligners. The reason why I like Invisalign again is because, like I told you, and I was a speaker for Invisalign since 2 years ago. I stopped after that, but I use it because when I lecture, this is what I tell dentists. This company is not doing anything else than, they're doing scanners, but they're doing clear aligners. That's what they do. All the money in research goes into development of clear aligners. If we take other companies, they sell everything. Yes, they may have clear aligners too. But competition is good. Competition is good. I'm happy there's going to be more and more and more, because I think everybody will benefit from that.
And one of the things that's hard for me to get my mind around is that you go back 100 years ago, or the turn of the century. There were no specialties. Healthcare was 1% of the economy of the GDP in 1900, and it goes from 1% of the GDP, no specialties, to the end of 2000, the physicians have 58, the dentists have 8. Now we're just at 2021, and we've gone from 8 to 12. They've added oral facial pain, oral medicine, oral path, oral radiology. And these young kids come out of school, and they're like, and I admire their enthusiasm. They're like, oh my God, I want to pull wisdom teeth and learn endo and silver diamine fluoride and clear aligners and crown and bridge and place implants. And I'm like, slow down, Spanky. It'll take you 10 years to figure out one thing. And I don't want to curb their enthusiasm. And I love the fact that they want to learn it all. But my God, take oral medicine. I've been a dentist for 33 years. There's 132,000 registered and are microbial agents in the list. I can't do 132,000. I think my brain max is about 132.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, if you're not in a team approach, you're not serving the patient, because, even the eye doctors, this one just does glaucoma, this one just does retina surgery, they bring up. So how do you coach a young kid if they're going to do clear aligners? I always say, okay, if you're going to add clear aligners, I want to know what you're going to give up, or how do you wrap your mind around that?
Yeah, my friend Jerry Sampson. Jerry Sampson's he has 2 specialties. He's an orthodontist and he's a pedodontist. Do you say pediatric dentist, or you say pedodontist?
You have to say pediatric dentist, because otherwise everybody thinks.
Okay, so he's an orthodontist and a pediatric dentist. And but he practiced all his life as an orthodontist. He's retired today. He's 72 or 73, and what he says, today, general dentistry is the hardest specialty. He says the hardest specialty is the specialty of general dentistry. Now, this comes from a guy who has, I think, 6 different appointments to 6 different universities. He's been lecturing around the world. He's an ABO, he's a FACD, whatever. He has everything, all the titles. And that's what he says. Because, you know, I graduated almost 30 years ago. That's my 29th year now in dentistry. And like you said, I mean, even when I go back, I had not as much to learn as they have to learn today. And at one point, and this is what happened to me, at one point in the clinic, we were three dentists, and we just decided, okay, one of my friends decided that he liked surgery. He was doing the implants. I decided I liked ortho. I would concentrate on ortho. I was at one point only doing ortho and endo in the clinic. That was the only thing. So we were working as a team. I think, and I admire when I see general dentists that are able to do everything. Implants, ortho, they do, and some do everything, and they do it very well. And that's not counting that they're you know, they're leading the team, they have the business, they have everything. It's hard to be a general dentist nowadays. To be a good general dentist is really hard. And I agree with you that you cannot, I don't think you can do everything. At one point, you have to decide where you're gonna put your effort. What do you like? First, you try maybe a little bit of everything, but everything that has to be learned. I think one of the major problems that dentists can have with clear aligners is that they see this as you know, it's sometimes they say, is this an Invisalign case? And I say, it's not an Invisalign case. It's never an Invisalign case. It's not a clear aligner case. It's an orthodontic case. And the Invisalign or the clear aligners or whatever, this is the braces, those are only tools that you're going to use to move the teeth, to do what you're planning to do in your treatment. So this is the thing, they don't know how to choose their cases. Case selection is one. I think there's 3 barriers, and one of the barrier is case selection. And this is one of the things they have to learn. One of the first things that when we lecture in our Master of Clear Aligner course, one of the first things we talk about is how to select your cases, because I don't like to say there's some easy cases and some hard cases. I always say there's never an easy case, but I think there are some predictable cases. And the first thing to learn, because I saw it everything. When I was lecturing for Invisalign, we were giving this certification course. But you know, Howard, the certification course was a half-day course. And I think one of the things, you know, with this big orthodontist and dentist fight and everything, I think one of the things that the orthodontists don't like is when they see a general dentist doing a half-day course and starting to do orthodontic treatments. And I can understand that, because you cannot learn to do orthodontics in a half-day course. You can have an idea of this product here that maybe, oh yeah, that sounds nice, looks fun. Maybe, yeah, I want to put some more time and learn about this. But so it's like everything else we're doing. You have to put the time, you have to, there's a learning curve, that is for sure. And if you think you can treat cases that are complicated, when you start, like I was telling you, I was giving these certification courses, and at the end there was always dentists coming with, you know, their plaster models and showing you our pictures on their phone. And do you think this is a good case? Do you think? And a lot of times those cases were so complicated, like surgical class 3 cases, and you say, don't do that, don't touch that, yeah, but it's okay. It's my brother-in-law. or it's my assistant, or it's my hygienist. Said, no, don't do it. Don't touch that. It's worse. It's even worse. So I think one of the big problems is there, thinking that you can do everything, and this is not how it works. But at the same time, doesn't mean that you cannot do any. And this is when I hear that, you know, general dentists cannot do orthodontic. treatment, I'm sorry, I cannot agree with that, because in all the other specialties, I mean, we can do crowns, we can do root canals, we can do some surgery, we can. So why isn't something in orthodontics that we can do too that would be okay for all general dentists to incorporate in their practice? And like in all other specialties, I mean, you refer to hard cases. You refer to cases you're not comfortable dealing with. I have dentists that are doing only root canals on mono, how do you say it? Like incisors or cuspids or laterals. You know, they won't do premolars, they won't do molars. It's the same thing with orthodontics. I mean, I'm treating all the cases, but I dedicated my practice to orthodontics. But general dentists who would just want to introduce orthodontics, they can do class 1 cases when there's no vertical correction and just, you know, the aesthetic 6. They can do that. They can incorporate that. I just tell them, imagine the difference it can make in your bottom line if you do 50 cases a year.
Well, let's, I call this dentistry uncensored because I don't want to talk about anything everyone knows and agrees upon. And I want to go right to the jugular vein.
Let's go.
When you're in dental school and you need help with a root canal, any endodontist will help you. In oral surgery, you can't pull out a wisdom tooth, the oral surgeon will help you. The pediatric dentist, everybody's your friend. And then you say, well, can we do orthodontics? Well, if you want to learn orthodontics, you need to go to ortho school. And you're like, what the hell? And then talk about systemic economic tyranny. The United States, like most countries, half live in the urban, half live in the rural, and there's no specialties in the rural. There are 12,000 American towns without one specialty, and I say to these dental schools, yeah, but see that little girl there? She's going to go back to Parsons, Kansas, and there's only 1,200 people there, and it's her or a 2-hour drive, so now will you teach her how to do braces? They say, well, we'll teach her how to extract a tooth, do a root canal, a silver diamine fluoride, crown and bridge, oral facial pain, oral medicine, oral path, oral radiology. But are you kidding me? You think we're going to teach them orthodontics? I mean, and I'll tell you another thing, and this is why I'm always in trouble. But the orthodontic societies out of St. Louis. I mean, my God, it'd be easier for me to get a meeting with the President of the United States than it would be that group. That group, they answer the phone. The minute they find out you are not an orthodontist, dang, it's dead. But look at that. They get 95% membership. I mean, 95% of the orthodontists are members of the American Orthodontic Society, and it's because they run it just like the Teamsters. In fact, they don't even get along with any of the other dental societies. I mean, it's like, we're orthodontists. And what I thought was a breath of fresh air is when they start doing Smiles Direct Club, then all of a sudden they realize, remember the old saying in politics, your enemy's enemy is your friend? And now they start looking at us like, well, you weren't that scumbucket after all. There is actually someone much scummier. And another proof of it is OrthoTown. I mean, there are all these specialties on Dental Town, no problem. The orthodontist said, no, we want our own. Yeah. We're not going to go hang out with a bunch of dentists. So it's a weird culture.
And I don't understand that culture.
But are you feeling that pushback?
It's the same thing here.
Are you feeling that culture? I mean, do you get pushback because you're doing ortho?
Well... Yeah, of course. But, I've been doing it for a couple of years now, but I know that I may be disturbing some people. On the other hand, I have to say that I have a lot of ortho who told me, we see that you're doing it seriously and we like that. But it's still hard, Howard. I think exactly like you, and we have the same thing here. I don't understand where it comes from. And I had an argument one point with an orthodontist, and I asked the guy, I said, Howard Angle? Of course. He said, oh, you know about the Angle Society? Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. And, Angle class 1, class 2, class 3. I mean, it's from the beginning of the last century, 19-something or 18-something, whatever. And we still use that. And I said, he was the guy who opened the first orthodontic school, right? I said, yeah. So I said, but where did he do his orthodontic training? Engel was a general dentist. He had to be. And he got interested in orthodontics. He could not do any specialty. There was no specialty school of orthodontics at the time. He opened the first one. And at the time, I think it was a 3-week course or a 6-week course. And all these guys we are still talking about, this was their training. There's no special powder that they put in orthodontic school, or it's just principles that you have to learn. These things can be learned. Again, I'm not saying it's easy, but it has never been easier because of clear aligners. Has never been easier to train your team because of clear aligners. All kind of weird things happened with, and I still to date, I treated more cases with braces than I treated with clear aligners. I did more than 1,500 cases of clear aligners, but I did more cases with braces. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of weird things that happen with braces. An orthodontist told me once, cases with clear aligners should take a year, but we spend 1 more year just treating the collateral damages or the side effects that we created with our mechanics. And I think it's true. What I see with clear aligners, there's less side effects. So, but it's not something you learn in half a day. It's like everything else. Again, like implants. You want to incorporate implants in your practice. You will take a series of courses. You will learn. You will take some time. You will start with sometimes people will start with your spouse. That's what I did with Invisalign.
My first sinus lift was on my mother-in-law.
That's it. She still talk to you?
I couldn't afford to buy a research primate. Those were like $100,000. So the next step would be your mother-in-law, right? But I'm going to hold your feet to the fire for specifics. If you did 100 orthodontic cases, how many would be clear aligner only? How many would also be brackets and wires?
Today would be 100 clear aligners. That's the only thing I do now. I'm finishing my fixed cases, but since last year, I decided I don't do fixed anymore.
And the other thing that I think... here's what I've always recommended on the specialties, and is, in fact, I think I even wrote it down here. I think this is sage advice. Is that when you look at like Olympic athletes, they're one of the highest alcoholism rates there are. But think about the natural selection. Say your mom goes up to you and says, "Hey, Stephane, how about every day of your life before school, I take you to the swimming pool and you do the 100-meter butterfly for an hour. And then after school, when everybody goes home and plays, I'm going to take you back to the swimming pool and do the 100-meter butterfly. And we're going to do this every morning, every night from age 5 to 25. And you'll win a little gold medal that's not even gold." The normal kid's like, "Mom, I'll pass. Ask someone else to do that." Who the frick would be that crazy?
Yeah, that's
and
it.
Then they have, something's wrong with them, probably naturally selection and things like that. It goes wrong. So in dentistry, if you're going to sit on the chair from age 25 to 65 and drill, fill, and bill MOD amalgams from, for 40 years, you'll probably hope there's mercury toxicity in your brain. You'll probably hope you'll die from it. So what I always say is to mix up the mind is that every 5 years, you should concentrate on one of these 12 specialties. Because what I have found out with orthodontics is that everybody I know around here that's my age that got into orthodontics did it. They loved it. They might not have kept it. They still might not be doing it today or anything like that, but they learned how to diagnose it and treat it because you still have the patient's answers. In fact, I'll tell you this, that's in business, is 1 + 1 = 3. We saw in clear aligners where they said, well, let's get the implant surgeon and the implant prosthodontist and the lab tech in one building and 1 + 1 + 1 equals about 18,000 units a year at 25,000 a unit. That company's so profitable, it's been bought and sold 4 or 5 times. And I'm seeing the same thing with pediatric dentists and orthodontists. I mean, if 100 parents take their kid to the pediatric dentist, all 100 are going to say, hey, is little Billy going to need braces when he grows up? And you're like, oh, well, I have no idea. I don't even know what that means. So here's a referral, go down the street. Retail says put it all under one shop. So when in my backyard in Phoenix, when I see a pediatric dentist open with an orthodontist, 1 + 1 = 3, they're bigger than 2 individuals by being under one roof. So the future is going to do what retail's done in the past. Like, you go around the world, the only 3 publicly traded dental offices are open 7 to 7, 7 days a week. Hygiene, our ortho and pediatric dentist is going to be under one roof. So so when someone's doing clear aligners, or is that more adult ortho and really not pediatric dentistry and child intervention, phase 1, things like that? Or are you mainly adult orthodontist?
I would say adults are 50% of the practice. The other 50 is teenagers. And now we treat even first phase treatment. Nothing that needs, like expansion or when we're not doing anything orthopedic. I would say I'm not doing anything orthopedic with that. But when it comes to, moving teeth, creating some space, when you have some shift, let's say you have a shift of the lower incisors on one side, blocking the cuspid, everything, those things can be easily done with clear aligners. And what I've seen, I started a year ago treating kids in first phase with clear aligners. And what I've seen is I'm really impressed about how the kids are good at wearing the aligners. They always amaze me. And it's the same thing with teenagers. Everybody's thinking that teenagers will not wear their aligners, will not. I don't see any difference with the adults. I don't see that they're different, that they're wearing their aligners less than adults, or and this is a lot of times this is a concern with dentists. And so, but compliance, you need compliance and blah, blah, blah. And well, I started in 2004 using clear aligners in my practice. And if it would be a problem, if compliance would be a problem, if I was losing money with this, I would have stopped doing it. So for me, it's really, how patients want that. Your patients want it. So if they're asking for it, if they want it, and you do not offer this in your clinic, I don't care if maybe you're not the one doing it, but you were talking about this idea of having a one-stop shop. This is what I wanted for my clinic. This is what we did. When I told you earlier that we decided at one point, all the dentists, okay, I'm going to concentrate on this, because we found out that patient, they didn't care if I was doing something, the other dentist was doing something else. They just cared about going to this same place, passing the front door, seeing familiar faces, knowing the place and everything. This is what was important for them. And I really believe that this is the way to go. Have these one-stop shop where you can offer all the treatments to your patient at the same place.
That was very interesting. So how did someone start the clear aligners? I mean, they're looking at the deal, and first of all, this is what I want to say to the kids. They'll sit there and say, well, I'm gonna go learn by Bill Dorfman in Beverly Hills, and he does veneers on movie stars. And I'm like, okay, that sounds really great. You're in Eloy, Arizona. How many movie stars are in Eloy? And it's the same thing with All on 4. Just pisses me off because I know where they're from and they want to go learn All on 4. And I'm like, dude, where you live, it's all on none. And your patients need a denture, and you can upgrade that denture to maybe 2 implants on a lower or 4 or whatever. But you're supposed to make a supply of what your customers are demand. And if you live where I grew up in Wichita, Kansas, and you could pick between having a Mercedes-Benz dealership and a Ford 150 pickup truck dealership, you better get the pickup truck or you're going to go broke. So the first thing you need to do is not project your own self biases on the market. And if you're getting, like Dennis will call me up and say, do you think I should take Blue Cross and Blue Shield, PPO? I'll say, well, how many of your customers have asked you this? I have it by my phones, the old pad, Getting to Yes. The prescription pad? We have a prescription pad called Getting to Yes. And every time we have to tell someone no, I want to know who it was and what they asked. So, because humans are good at deluding themselves. Like, they'll say things like, oh, well, if you open up on Saturday, no one wants it, no one will come in. Well, indeed, 18 of your own patients ask you if you're open Saturday per month. 18 of yours. I don't care what the lecture guy said in Las Vegas. So you need to learn how to track your demand. So if you're having patients ask about Invisalign, bada bomb, you don't have to be Albert Einstein or Sir Isaac Newton to figure out that's the way to go. But when no one's ever asked you for All-on-4, and no one's ever paid you $25,000 an arch, that's $50,000, that's a new car. Why are you learning All-on-4 when your practice is in Apache Junction? And if they have more than 3 teeth missing, they're the richest kid on the block. So follow the market is what I'm trying to say. But let's say they're getting asked about Invisalign. Where do you start? Because they didn't learn it in dental school.
Yeah, that's well. There's two things. I mean, you're talking about Invisalign. If you want to do Invisalign, you need a certification from Invisalign. So that's one thing. But then this is, for me, doesn't mean anything. A certification from Invisalign doesn't mean that you can suddenly know how to do orthodontics. Again, it's just the right to be order these aligners. But if you don't know what to do with these aligners, you're going to have problems. And what I've seen, one of the problem I've seen is that a lot of dentists think that the software will do everything, that the artificial intelligence will do everything, that the software will decide. And this is not how it works. I mean, the software helps, but you still have to learn. And again, take some time. So where you start, there are different places to. I think you need to learn about diagnostic. That's one of the things. If you cannot diagnose your cases, that's the basic thing. I mean, this is where you're going to be able to know if a case is predictable for you, if you're going to feel confident treating the case, if you can understand what you're seeing, I always say picture the end, and it's like receiving a wax up from the lab. This is how I see it. You're doing a rehab case. You're going to receive a wax up from the lab. You're going to look at this. Does it make sense? Everything perfect? This, you can evaluate this. This makes sense. Now, with a wax up, with a rehab case, you're gonna prepare the teeth, everything. That's good. That's one way to do it. Now, if you want to do it with orthodontics, you have to understand mechanics. You have to understand how teeth move, all these things. So this is not understanding clear aligners. This is understanding mechanics, physics, biomechanics, all these things. And there are different places that you can learn that. This is one, when I tell you the goal of the C.L.E.A.R Institute, I'm going to talk about the C.L.E.A.R Institute, of course, but this is what we do. This is what we want. This is my goal, my vision, my mission. Again, I want dentists to be comfortable with that. I want them to understand this, all these things. But like I told you about Jerry Sampson, this is what he does. This is what he has been doing, has been teaching. He's an orthodontist, again, pediatric dentist, has been teaching for, I think, more than 30 years now, down in Georgia, in Marietta. General dentists and pediatric dentists, how to do ortho, how to diagnose ortho, and when I met Jerry in 2009, and the reason why we connected, we became friends, is because this guy was not selling anything but knowledge. And he was not, related to any company. He didn't care what kind of braces you were using, what kind of appliance you were using, what kind of wire. He didn't care. He just wanted you to understand what you were doing. And it's the same thing. Like I told you with Caroline, once you understand what you're doing, you can use whatever you want. You can understand your case. You're able to decide if, okay, this is a good case for me. This is a case I should refer. And going back to what you were saying about orthodontists, I think that this is where they missed the boat. If orthodontists had decided in the past to lecture, to teach general dentists, I think they would have more reference from general dentists today, because a lot of dentists would not do orthodontics, but they would understand better, they would diagnose better, and they would refer more cases to the ortho.
You know, like I say, my friend who's an ophthalmologist, he refers out his glaucoma to another guy, his retina work to another guy. I got this email last night from one of my favorite orthodontists, Kevin O'Brien.
Yeah.
And did you get that email last night?
One of my favorite too.
Oh my God. But I mean, whenever I'm on one of his email exchanges and everything, I basically have no idea what he's talking about. I mean, it's a determinants of probable sleep bruxism and PD mixed dent multivariate analysis of mouth nasal breather tongue mobility, maximum incisor retractions and compensatory reduction in sagittal thickness of posterior pharyngeal wall. You're gonna need a team. That's what I'm saying to you. It's not like you're going to come out of dental school and we're going to go back to 1900 and you're going to deliver babies, amputate arms, do heart surgery. I mean, my God, dentistry it's overwhelming. And that was one of the things that really impressed upon me. I was early on in school and I finally realized one day, it dawned on me like, oh my God, I was trying to learn dentistry and I just realized I could study this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for a century and die and still not even get it. I mean, you're not going to figure all of this out in your lifetime. And then I went bought and by the way, God, I'm going to try to solicit you to do one of my projects. You're going to be Pierre Fichard. So when I got out of dental school in 87 and then 94 was the internet boom and eBay and Amazon. And when I got on eBay, of course, what else would you do on eBay but search for old dental books? And I found the first 3 books written and autographed by G.V. Black. Okay. And I got them real cheap. It was only $8,000. And I thought, oh my God, this is the father of dentistry. I get to read his book. Oh my God, it was so humiliating. I mean, they were trephinating holes above the teeth to let the evil spirits out and this and that. And I can only imagine Pierre Fichard was 100 years before that, but it's all in French and no one's done an English and no one's done an audiobook. And I wish to hell that you would just sit down, just commit. When I wrote my book, I just sat down in front of the deal and I just read it, and it took me about 4.5 hours. But sometimes just get so damn drunk on red wine that you'll just read Pierre Fichard's book.
Le chirurgien dentiste.
Because it gives perspective. Because but they built up Pierre Fichard that he walks on water, and he's probably a saint by now, and all this stuff. And people need to know how little they knew back then. And then the next century got G.V. Black. I've read that. It's like, it scared me. I mean, it was like, are you serious? They thought that at 1900? And now we're into 2020. We're 120 years past that. And sometimes people just think, they're dumb. They don't get it. But when you look back just every century, we've come a long way, baby. But English speaking people have no way to know what Pierre was thinking.
You're right. That's a nice project.
Do it.
No, one thing that was fun about Pierre Fauchard, and that he was the first one to talk about the orthodontics, or moving teeth. And he in the book there's a thing called the bandeau de Fauchard. So it's like a piece of crude metal. And you have ligature wire there, and they would ligature the teeth, and it would apply a pressure on the teeth to move them. And it's exactly the same principles. The first principle of clear aligner is that aligners push on teeth instead of braces pulling on teeth. Well, the bandeau of Fauchard, his thing that he invented, his appliance, was doing exactly the same thing. It was applying a pressure. It was pushing on the teeth. So I always say this is the first clear aligner was the bandeau de Fauchard.
And, you know, being Irish, you know, the French are always bragging about everything they figured out first. And so the Irish, you know, because the French were digging under into Montreal and they found wires for electricity and all this stuff. So the Irish went back home to Dublin and they dug under Dublin. They didn't find anything. So they realized they must have invented Wi-Fi. But yeah, I really think the kids need more of a historical perspective. And I selfishly am dying to find out what that guy was thinking a century before G.V. Black. That is just amazing. So you're going to need, if you're a general dentist, you're going to need all the specialists and you're going to need all the medical specialists. And the United States of America, which is the only one I got data on, publishes 40,000 unique healthcare journals a month. I know because 2 of are on our Dental Town, Ortho Town, and you're not going to be able to read 40,000 journals a month and stay on top of everything. My gosh. So another thing, all my guests want me to ask, sorry to interrupt this program, but they want to know if you would take the vaccine today.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have to tell you something. Here in Montreal, the problem we have is that if you have a vaccine, you're going to have the second shot in 3 months, maybe. In that way, I'm not sure I would do it because I would like to respect the protocol. It's supposed to be 3 weeks after with the one we have here, the BioNTech, the Pfizer BioNTech.
So then my next question, following that, did this pandemic make you fall in love with teledentistry? Did this pandemic make, what differences did it make in your office, and was teledentistry one of them? You know, is this teledentistry thing, is it all hype, or was it a real thing for you?
I think that teledentistry will be there to stay. I see teledentistry as an added value to what we offer patients. I think because of the pandemic, we stepped at least 5 years forward for everyone using these technologies, these Zoom and everything. Now almost everybody know how to use Zoom, so I see it for emergency treatment, for it really makes it easier for the patient, sometimes easier for the dentist, easier for communication, to see a problem, to explain a problem. I don't see it as a treatment. I don't see it as using it for a diagnostic. I don't see it, but the only problem I see with that, and the thing we have to think of is, you know, I have no problem talking in front of a camera. I'm not shy. But I know some dentists, I know some that they freeze, you know, and if you're using this as a first contact with your patient, maybe the dentist should not be the person to do it. The other thing you have to think about with teledentistry is that it takes some time. It doesn't, I mean, you need to take the time to do it. It doesn't give you more time, you know, it's time that you have to take, that you have to put in your agenda, that you have to take if you want to see your patient live, if you want to, it has to be somewhere, because when you're doing this, you're not at the chair, you're not doing something else. But I see it really, I think it's gonna stay. I see it as an added value, but it will never replace the face-to-face. And it's a little bit like lecturing. Howard, I don't know what you think, but for me, I really miss that, lecturing live, lecturing to people face-to-face. I did some webinars, and again, we have the platform, we have everything, but I see that as an added value. I can't wait to be back on the road, to be in front of a room, to have this direct connection with people. For me, it will never replace that. And I think this is, so teledentistry, yes, it's something else, something more. It's just an added value, but it will never replace what we can offer our patients, face to face.
Well, speaking of teledentistry, is the C.L.E.A.R Institute, is that all online, or is that you still have to go to class, meet in the flesh? Talk about that.
Well, the C.L.E.A.R Institute is going to be a combination. Now it's going to be all online. It's because of the pandemic. Because before that, it was only live. We didn't have anything online, but because of the pandemic, I'm going to use this overused word. I have to pivot. And it was an idea to have something online too, but I decided I worked full time on developing some content and everything for to put on the. And we're going to launch it very soon, and there's going to be courses for beginners, intermediate, advanced doctors for the team, everything. But I see it as a compliment again, because I don't believe that you can be sitting in front of your computer for a whole day. I don't see it. I mean, for me, or that you can really be attentive. The problem we had with live is that we were giving like a 2-day course, and people were like all interested, all excited, and that's fun, perfect, good. What's next? And there's nothing next, or they're going back to work on Monday, all excited. They go back there. The team is like, it's gonna last 2 weeks, and it's gonna be something else. It's always like that. So you're all excited, and with time it goes down. So the idea of having this platform there is to keep entertaining the education. So if you go to the platform, you're going to be able to see us live too. If you go live, you will have the platform. I have the YouTube channel also. On the YouTube channel, I do produce some content there. Little clips are, tips and tricks with clear liners and all these things.
So it's youtube.com, the C.L.E.A.R Institute. And the C.L.E.A.R Institute, if you haven't figured out by now, is clear aligners. You should have already known that by now. So how much...
C.L.E.A.R is for clinical lectures, education, aligners, and clear retention. That's
serious. What
I should have practiced before.
Is that a joke or seriously?
No, seriously.
Okay, so what does it stand for? C is clinical,
education, aligners, and retention.
Lectures.
Some say restorations. Well.
Okay, clinical lectures. What's the E?
Education.
Education. So the A was for what? Clinical lectures, education.
Aligners.
Aligners. God, I'm not very good on the prices right. And then what's the R?
R. Let's put restoration. It was retention first.
Yeah,
but
no, it's got to be.
It's got to be more.
No, it has to be retention, because that's another thing.
That's what I think too.
What the kids don't understand is that, they think straightening the teeth, and they're an orthodontist. Dude, straightening the teeth is walking back down the mountain. Walking up the mountain is retention. Oh, well, my God.
I'm happy you said the next video I put on YouTube tomorrow morning, there's a new video. It's on retention. What's the best retention? And yeah, that's like I say, the answer might surprise you. This is I always say to my patient, so when the treatment is finished, I said, this is where it starts. Retention. This is where it starts.
Yeah, in fact, you don't even want to start an orthodontic case until you already know the patient plans on moving. And as soon as they've taken that job in another country and they're going to move, that's when you do all their braces, root canals, place the implants. Retention is the hardest.
That's what we call geographic success.
So if they go to the website would be theclearinstitute.com.
Yeah, it's a temporary website right now. We're coming with the new website in a couple of weeks. So everything at the same time. We're going to have the new website with the e-learning, with the LMS platform and everything together. For now, it's like a temporary thing, but they can get on the list, on our list, and they're going to be informed of the new website and the new platform when it's launched.
Well, that is awesome. And so the other thing is I want to say one more thing to the kids is Warren Buffett taught us in business school. I went to Omaha, Nebraska, and trust me, back then in 1980, nobody knew who Warren Buffett was except for the head of our business school, this little Italian guy who was so adorable. And he gets Warren over there, and Warren says, some kid asked him, Creighton had a med school and dental school and law school. And I think they generally said, what do you think is the best? Medicine, dentistry, law, whatever? And he said, well, number one, you should never go into a business that's capital intensive or someone else sets your fee. And healthcare is the most capital intensive, and the governments and insurance companies set your fee. So they squeeze you until you just work hard enough and not quite die. So what I love the most about implants and clear aligners and this is why they're taking off. I mean, this is what I've heard on the ground in lectures in Cambodia and Myanmar and Malaysia, is these guys, it's called a bait and switch, where, the government fee schedule for cleaning exams and x-rays. Let's go to Paris. Let's go to London, Paris, and Tokyo, where the gods of socialized medicine reimburse you $100 US for a molar root canal. And of course, no one's going to talk about on TV the fact that that's why dentists in Tokyo don't know how to do molar endo and don't want to do molar endo, because if they pull that tooth, they'll charge $1,500 for an implant and $1,500 for a crown, and they just converted that $100 to $3,000. And this is what frightens me about socialized medicine the most, is that I only know one thing. I only know dentistry. And everywhere I've gone around the world, hell, I've podcasted them. I did podcasts live from France and Tokyo, where these guys are like, the reimbursements matter. And every time I look at this, I see two concerns. When it's something I understand, like dentistry, it's just horrible. But it's supposed to be good in everything else that I don't wear. That concerns me. Number two, when they set up these socialized systems, they don't have a copayment. That makes sure you don't have any skin in the game, because if you had a copayment, then you're going to get involved and prices matter, and you're going to look at. So they don't want you, no copayment, all free. Look the other. No, it doesn't make any sense to me why they do this. But here's what they tell me at these dental clinics: the government fee schedules. When I do the cleaning, exam, and X-rays, and I treat other people like I want to be treated, and I do all the restorative dentistry, I can barely feed my family. But out of this 5,000 patients, I'm able to extract either they go clear aligners and they do an Invisalign case once a week, which is $50 a year, or an implant case once a week, $50 a year, and the 50 Invisalign cases or the 50 single implants is why they're living in the top 5% in Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, all these countries like that. And so at least they know their profit margins. Like, this is our base. We kind of break even on the base. It's kind of like why the convenience stores pretty much break even on gas. Because they know while your car is filling up, you're going to come in and buy something else, and that something else you buy is going to have a very high margin, as opposed if you went to a bigger store. So they're like, okay, we give away the gas for free, but we're going to crush you on the candy bar or whatever. So what I want you kids to realize is that what you need to stay focused on are the procedures where no one else sets the fee. And when insurance companies and socialized medicine and Medicaid and Medicare, they're never going to cover Invisalign, and they're not going to cover implants. So that's where you need to go, because whatever you do, they're going to say, well, how much did it cost Dr. Imami to do that? $1. Okay, we'll reimburse it at $1.01. That's their game. They believe that an industry will be better if it's not profitable, so they have retained earnings to reinvest and update. Government always thinks, it'll be best? We'll run it so unprofitable that there'll be no reinvestment, and then in 20 years, you won't even recognize this place. So other than that, I love government. So another thing I want to ask you is, are you seeing much legal stuff? I mean, the standard of care, like I hear the standard of care things, and I hear the people selling CBCTs that says a CBCT is the standard of care for orthodontics because of the airway and this and this. Then I have pediatric radiologists saying, are you shitting me? You're going to take that much radiation on every single human that walks in your door? And I've had 2 oral radiologists on this show saying that's the worst idea they've ever heard. So my question to you, is a CBCT, is it standard of care? What Do you do a CBCT on every orthodontic case?
Not in my case. So my opinion, my clinical opinion is I agree with these radiologists. I don't see it as I know for me it's when we have an impacted cuspid, something like that, and want more informations. But when I see kids that have kids CBCT on all the kids on all the cases, and I don't need it. And when you were talking about Kevin O'Brien, I remember reading one of his posts. He was not even talking about CBCT, but only about CEF, about the need for a final CEF for patients. He said, why do we take a final CEF? The case is finished. It's supposed to be for the benefit of our patients. So why do we take a final CEF once everything is out, when the braces are out and everything? We cannot change anything anymore. So no, in my case, I don't take a CBCT unless we have something specific, like again an impacted cuspid that we want to see, we want to figure out how the position is and everything. Otherwise, I take a CEF, I trace my CEF, and I take a pano and all the pictures and all these things, measures and everything. But that's it.
Well, you started a new podcast, The Odd Couple.
Yeah.
The Odd Couple, a dental and life podcast. Episode 1 just came out, the C.L.E.A.R Institute. It says, listen and watch The Odd Couple podcast, a dental and life podcast where the center rotation is always outside of the box. Nice. And by the way, the best marketing there is on a podcast is on Dentaltown. There are now 75 people are uploading their podcasts on Dentaltown, and it is amazing.
Wow.
There's this show has over 1 million downloads just on Dentaltown, and there's some kid from Florida put up a podcast from Florida. Never heard him before, nothing. He just passed 750,000 views because Dentaltown. I mean, we were 5 years before Facebook. We got 250,000 people. They post 6 times. But I listened to the episode with you and my gosh, Jerry Sampson, and that was just awesome. And I do. Just start uploading it on Dentaltown because you're already uploading it for free on YouTube and iTunes. Yeah. And what they tell me is when you upload on Dentaltown, your iTunes will explode because if they're and what I noticed about YouTube, this is kind of funny, but almost 100% of everybody, the dentists that's talked to me about my YouTube channel are boys, and sure enough, YouTube is males. And I don't know why males prefer YouTube, but that is the male channel. Mm-hmm. So tell me about the podcast and how long you've been doing it and how do you like it and all that stuff.
Well, we started just before Christmas. I think the first episode was in November. We're at episode 6 now. And it's just, every week I have a phone call with Jerry, and we have always these conversation, and we have fun, and we don't see time. And at one point we said, you know what, we should do a podcast with this. It's fun. It's interesting. We're having fun. We're just having these conversation about, and that's how it started basically. And we like it very much. And we have our schedule now for the year. We're going to have some guests also coming this year, and we're continuing this. I mean, it's just two guys, two friends, having a conversation about, like we said, dentistry and life. And I'm starting something else this weekend. The first was going to be posted next week. It's going to be clear facts. So it's going to be answers to questions that we receive because I have a list of questions coming from doctors. So we're going to just answer questions on clear aligners. So I have every week like a couple of questions that we're going to answer on clear aligners too. So yeah, I'm having fun with all these things, the videos, everything I'm doing the editing myself. I'm just having fun. I'm having a ball doing these things.
And if you have a question for him on the podcast, his email is question@theclearinstitute.com, and then they answer. But what I thought was so funny is on the Odd Couple Dental and Life podcast. Stephane is the Frenchie, and Jerry is the elder. And my gosh, it's just I love it. I mean, I think yours is
thank you very much.
Yeah, I just love the podcast. speak to the kids for a minute. They just come out of school. They're in a pandemic. They come out $400,000 student loans. My state of Arizona, I just read in the news today, the number of domestic violence calls in 911 went up threefold last year. I was talking to the president of the ADA, and I thought he was going to talk about PPE, and he pivoted right to suicide. And there's a thread on Dentaltown on suicide. It's a mile long, and in my lifetime here in Phoenix, it's a big area. There's 3.8 million people. There's 3,800 dentists. There's been a suicide, one or two or three every year since I've got here. But usually it's a very complex, multivariate deal. Usually it has to do with a lover just left them, mental illness, substance abuse, a perfect storm of sorts. Yeah. Now it seems like just like normal people are just chucking it. I mean, where you're not finding all the other things on with it. So I know you're put on your Frenchie hat and tell them why they should be all upbeat and motivated. And are you upbeat? I can't believe we went over an hour, but we're into 2021. 2020 was dead on arrival. We're just finishing up the first month on 2021. Is there anything that makes you upbeat, or do you think it's going to be this year is going to be better than last year? What advice would you tell these young kids that just think, the sky is falling? Some of them really do.
Some really do. You're right, and I think sometimes it's putting everything in perspective. Everybody. I mean, with the experience, we all go through hard phases in our lives, and maybe this for them it's now. It's just when they're starting, but I think in a certain way, the way I saw it all the time is just have fun with what you're doing. Find a way to have fun all the time. In everything you're doing. In dentistry can be really fun. We have the chance, like you said, to practice something where we can decide everything. We can decide on our schedule. We can decide what we're going to do. We can decide what we don't want to do. We can decide how much how much these things we're going to charge for these things. It's a chance to be in relation with people also, and it's a privilege almost to be able to treat them. I mean, when somebody comes to you and they put their confidence in you, we should feel, honored about that. And one of the reasons why I liked orthodontic so much, I started treating patients with ortho in 1999. And one of the reasons why I liked it so much is because of this special relation I was able to have with these patients, because I was seeing them at the time doing braces every 4 weeks, every 6 weeks. And you build this relation with these patients that is really special. And I think we have to focus on these things. Everything else, I mean, there's the pandemic. I really like, C.L.E.A.R. I mean, at one point we did the Scheduling Institute and all these things. And one of the things that stayed with me is just be in your bubble. Create your bubble. And when you're in the clinic, you should even have a meeting with your staff. And when people are talking about the pandemic and how it's oh my God, and you should stop and just try to deviate this conversation, even with your patients, and try to be positive. Talk about the last thing you saw on Netflix. Talk about I know, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, that's bad. But you know what? Yesterday I was watching Netflix, and I don't know if you saw this thing, but just bring them somewhere else. Bring them where it's fun. Do the same thing for yourself. This is the way, this is the way I see it. It's this thing where we have an invisible enemy. What can we do, Howard? What can we? There's nothing we can do. There's nothing that we really can. There's nothing we can do really about it as a dentist. So just focus on the thing you can do, but you will not change anything about it. You cannot take decisions on this pending. Are we gonna? We were talking about the vaccine and all these things. I mean, we have to go with the flow, what's going to be decided by our governments and everything. And we have, they're talking here about the closing all the international flights, all these things, and people are going crazy. Just what can you do with that? I mean, focus on something else.
Yeah, it's truly challenging times. But what I like to tell people is that being attacked by another species, a virus, compared to when humans attack each other, I'll take this any day. A lot of people are talking about our politics are real divisive. They might have forgot that in 1862, they actually had a war, and 1 in every 30 persons was killed. I would rather be at war with another species. I'd rather have an economic problem. The one that just kills me, though, is when the damn monkeys start killing each other. And, this is bad, but my God, compared to when you go kill each other. But I want to say something really funny. My brain, when I saw your podcast, The Odd Couple, I just thought it was odd because you were young and you were the Frenchie and he was the old guy and he was the elder. But it's really more profound than that. He says, when two equal and opposite forces are separated by a perpendicular distance, it creates a couple. When you add Dr. Stephane Reinhardt, general dentist, and Dr. Jerry Sampson, orthodontist, to the equation, it creates an odd couple, odd meaning orthodontist and dentist discussion. That's beautiful. In other words, a dental and life podcast where the center of rotation is always outside of the box. And that's why I want to end this with orthodontists and general dentists, is that we all witnessed the 30 years of your inner circles circulating, keeping it all inside. And we get it, and we saw it, and it worked. And no one really even cared because it just didn't really matter. But then when they start doing Smiles Direct Club and they start doing direct liners, now that orthodontist is looking at us like, you know what? I wish there was no Smiles Direct, and I wish you didn't do ortho. But if I had to pick between the two, now the dentist is my buddy. And I'll tell you what, if you really know how complicated ortho can get, there's always going to be specialists and subspecialists. And by the way, dentistry is a specialty of medicine. It's incorrect to say that orthodontists are specialists. They're subspecialists. Dentistry is a specialty of medicine, and orthodontics is a subspecialty of dentistry. And I'll tell you what, it's going to get crazier. Can you imagine 100 years from now, how many specialists, or let's say, when they're always talking about this above our comprehension, let's say when, the pyramids were 5,000 years ago, Pythagoras didn't even put to paper what the hell they did with geometry for 2,500 years ago. So I assume, best case scenario, we're only halfway to go and we got another 5,000 years. But let's say that in 5,000 years we comprehend all knowledge. How many dental specialties do you think there'd be?
Oh my God.
It'd be off the charts. It'd be off the charts. And just pay attention to your patients when they all are asking for removable, do all on none, not all on 4. And if they're asking for clear aligners, they're asking for Invisalign, they're asking all that stuff, that's what you go learn. Follow the demand. You create a supply of what they're demanding, and this is your community. And by the way, the community, a lot of you complain about how much money you spend at dental school. I'd like to remind you that unless your dental school is private, the average public dental school, your tuition only picked up 20%. So the community picked up 80% of the tab for you to be a dentist. So when they come to your office and they got a toothache and you say, well, I can't pull a tooth or do a root canal. Well, that's like going to a hospital with a broken arm and say, well, Stephane, we don't do arms. We decided to just do ears and noses, and we stopped doing arms. It's like, dude, look, you're a doctor, and public health is one of the specialties. And when people are calling your office saying, I'm in pain, then suck it up, buttercup, and learn how to pull a tooth, do a root canal, or solve the problem, because not solving the problem, they just end up in the emergency room. And that was why it was a bad idea. Hindsight's 50-50, but I thought closing down dental offices during the pandemic, I didn't understand that because they all went down to the emergency room.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we all learn things, but I'm a big fan of what you do. I'm a big fan of everything you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. And it's been an honor. And I hope to get the elder to come back on.
Yeah,
and,
of course it would. And it would be fun to be both of us together with you. We would have a lot of fun. But I want to thank you. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the opportunity. And I tell you, the honor is mine. Honor is all mine. A French-Canadian participating. I mean, I tell you, Howard, when I decided I wanted to lecture in English, everybody here was saying, are you crazy? Do you really think a French-Canadian can lecture in the States or lecture? Well, guess what? You know, when somebody tells me that there's something I cannot do, just motivates me even more.
Well, I cannot imagine doing a lecture in a different language. So for you to sit there and do this in a second language just blows my mind. I mean,
Wow.
I can never do that. But hey, man, thanks for all you do, and good luck with the C.L.E.A.R Institute. And come back on the show with that really old guy from Georgia.
Really old guy, Jerry Simpson's really old.
The elder. And
the elder. Thank you very much, Howard.
And final thoughts. Swear to God, my boys, two of the coolest cities we ever went to was Paris and Montreal.
Yeah.
I mean,
those
cool.
are just Montreal is a nice city. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's really cool. All right, have a good day, buddy.
Hey, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Let me tell you the story of my smile. I had crooked teeth and didn't like my profile. But now these bad feelings are behind me. I have straight teeth without braces, it's so easy. No more food stuck between my front teeth. When I'm flirting with someone, now it looks neat. When I touch it with my tongue, I feel the smoothness. This new feeling is now for me something priceless. Everybody can see my new profile. Social media really changed my lifestyle. My new smile is the new attraction with the woman of all generations. Invisible, incredible, comfortable and affordable. And no more hiding, now I'm smiling. Yes, Invisalign changed the way that I'm feeling. My friend, every time we take your picture, I can feel that you become insecure.
I don't like my smile.
I would like to bring you back excitement just by talking to you about my own treatment. I will share a little secret with you. It's Invisalign and it will give you value. You will see that a little piece of plastic can sometimes be amazing and fantastic. Invisible, incredible, comfortable and affordable. You can see through, it will amaze you. Yes, Invisalign will give yourself some value. Now that your teeth have been all straightened, a new chapter of your life will be written. Everybody will want you in their pictures. You'll take selfies with every total strangers. You'll feel strong, beautiful, successful. To Invisalign, remember to be grateful. And if you become so confident, maybe you'll be our next president. Invisible, incredible, comfortable, and affordable.
It's so affordable.
And no more hiding. And now I'm smiling. Yes, Invisalign changed the way that I'm feeling.
Look at my teeth.
Invisible, incredible, comfortable, and affordable.
It's so affordable.
You can see through. It will amaze you. Yes, Invisalign will give yourself some value.